Part 22. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 211. In the chat box, many sacred tree masters were so angry that they almost vomited blood when they saw that the door opened just after they left the abyss of reincarnation. Damn it, is this dungeon specifically trying to get in trouble with me? You didn't open it when I came, but you opened it when I left. You're kidding me. Go back quickly. Why do I feel like someone has obtained this key and is controlling everything behind the scenes? Yes, after so many of us retreated, this guy just opened the door to the abyss of reincarnation. Wait, there should be a divine tree master left near the dungeon door. Didn't they see the divine tree master who opened the door? Who is it? Some of the sacred tree masters raised this question sharply. Many people also reacted and quickly contacted some sacred tree masters who were still near the copy. Among them, Fengyun Guild had the most eyes and manpower. Within the guild, Fengyun: have you seen the person who opened the door to the abyss of reincarnation? Who is it? Other members, didn't see it. Members guarding the door: we only heard a loud noise, and then the entrance to the abyss opened, but no one was seen nearby. Hearing the words of the guild members, Fengyun frowned deeply. The young man leading the way couldn't help but ask, damn it, did the door of this dungeon open by itself? Brother Long rolled his eyes. If this dungeon really opens by itself, why do you need a key? By the hairy girl nodded in agreement. The key is obviously the tool to open the copy. If the copy decided to open the permissions from the beginning, then the door at the entrance and the key would not need to exist at all. Things got interesting. Fengyun suddenly smiled. Anyway, when we enter the dungeon, it will be revealed who is the one who got the key. Everyone nodded. Not only the Fengyun Guild, nearby, many sacred tree masters who had just ran not far came back cursing. I have to say, this is the nature of human beings. A ghostly black figure instantly stepped into the area of the abyss of reincarnation. And, in an instant, he escaped hundreds of miles into the depths of the abyss. You should get rid of them. Lu Shu raised his head and looked at the entrance to the abyss above. That's right. With the shadow kill Dao mark, as long as Lu Shu doesn't take the initiative to attack other sacred tree masters, his whereabouts will be without a trace. There will be no trace at all. People can detect his actions. In fact, Lu Shu opened the gate to the abyss of reincarnation much earlier than everyone expected. Because he also cast illusions. It interfered with the senses and consciousness of the nearby sacred tree master. In this way, the news of the opening of the abyss of reincarnation will spread much slower. But the movement when the door is opened is still much louder than expected. Many sacred tree masters already know about this matter. Therefore, Lu Shu once again activated the ability of the shadow kill Dao mark and went a certain distance deep into the dungeon. When he was killing monsters, he had no interest in letting other divine tree masters watch. Otherwise, his various abilities would be compromised by others. Has it been analyzed? Roar. At this time, a roar of a ferocious beast came from the side. From the void, a monster covered with scales came through the air and suddenly killed him in front of Lu Shu. Die. Lu Shu's consciousness had already predicted it. The next second, the sword light flashed. The silhouette of the reincarnation suddenly scattered into bubbles and returned to the void. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the void beast and got X1 advanced Samsara fragment. Reincarnation silhouette. Void beast. Type, reincarnation shadow. Danger coefficient, S. Perception range, 1000 meters. Power, 2200. Speed, 3150. Defense, 2920. Skills, Void Escape, Reincarnation Silhouette, Tier, Abyss Amplification, Ancient Bloodline, Howl of Fear. Description: be careful. These reincarnation silhouettes from the abyss not only replicate the bloodline of ferocious beasts from ancient times, they are also extremely difficult to kill and often hide in another space. You never know when and from which direction this monster will suddenly kill. Come. Glancing at the pop-up panel, Lu Shu murmured to himself. The silhouette of reincarnation here is much more difficult than the gate of reincarnation last time. In addition to the buff of the reincarnation silhouette, these monsters also have the blessing of the abyss increase. Whether it is attributes, resistance, or other skills and attack methods, they are much stronger. In addition to the attributes of the reincarnation silhouette, the void beast also has the ability similar to the little white fox. It can hide its body in the void, and its whereabouts are extremely ghostly. If other sacred tree masters encounter this kind of monster, they will be attacked and killed at any time. Even if the monster at the entrance of the abyss is no longer something that ordinary divine tree masters can deal with. Moreover, although Lu Shu's perception range is very strong, it is because he has the attribute of divine fire that he has so much field of vision. If it were another sacred tree master who came down, the field of vision would be suppressed to 1/10 of the original value. Facing the void beast's sneak attack, it would be impossible to defend against it. Let the pet army come out first. Lu Shu does not intend to fight alone in such a dangerous place. Moreover, high-level reincarnation fragments can be used to synthesize high-level reincarnation silhouette monsters. The same reincarnation monsters can also be summoned. Therefore, even the mobs are quite different. The gains from the secular world. Imprint a teleportation array on the spot. Soon, all the pets in the Sacred Tree Island were transferred to the copy of the Grey Realm. Pickup. Pikachu became excited as soon as he returned to the Grey World. Yumi instantly possessed Pikachu and sensed danger nearby. The little white fox narrowed his eyes. It seems that there are void beasts in this area. The existence aroused the competitive spirit of the little white fox. After all, the original name of the little white fox was the escape fox. Encountering a monster with the same void ability aroused the competitive spirit of the little white fox. Kill it, Lu Shu said with a smile. His pet army has not taken action for a long time. The comprehensive strength of these guys has improved so much, and they are already itching to start a long-awaited killing in this area. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 212. The Grey World, the periphery of the abyss of samsara. Let's get in quickly. If it's late, it's probably too late. Do it all quickly. There are only a few days left before the next Grey Realm invasion. There are not many opportunities for us to explore the Super Nightmare level dungeon. Other guilds will definitely enter the abyss to explore next. We will go in immediately. The longer we explore, the more favorable factors we can occupy. For a moment, everyone started to go crazy. After all, the number of nightmare level copies was not very large in the first place. All the sacred tree masters were pouring in here. In this way, there were other sacred tree masters for themselves. By sharing the firepower, the survival rate will be higher. After all, more people make you bolder. What's more, the output value of nightmare level dungeons is higher. Even if it is just some mobs, the income may not be comparable to that of abyss level dungeons. Some advanced materials can be of great help to some sacred tree masters. These are the reasons why they rush to the super nightmare level copy desperately. If we gather the power of the guild, we can definitely kill these monsters. An A-level divine tree master smiled and vowed. Ever since the door to the abyss of reincarnation opened, news spread throughout the Grey World. Still stationed outside, one of the larger divine tree master guilds soon arrived. We summoned dozens of divine tree masters and prepared to go to the nightmare level copy to find out. We walked a distance of about hundreds of meters. Why are there no monsters around? It seems that this place is not difficult to deal with. Yeah, I haven't seen a monster in such a long time. Don't let your guard down. This is a nightmare level dungeon, and invisible dangers are usually the most dangerous. At this moment, a burst of screams suddenly came from the crowd. Ah! Everyone immediately looked in the direction where the screams came from. But in the void, a huge alien beast suddenly roared away from the space, tearing the head of a divine tree master into pieces in the blink of an eye. Blood spurted everywhere. The man had been decapitated and his death was horrific. Many sacred tree masters suddenly felt hairy. Where did this guy come from? Someone asked tremblingly. Attack him. The guild's slightly more qualified sacred tree masters' eyes became sharp, and they instantly launched an attack on the void beast. As a result, their attack penetrated the void beast's body. How can it be? When the nearby sacred tree masters saw this scene, they were collectively stunned. The expressions of more than a dozen people were as if they were carved from the same mold. They all had their mouths wide open. They couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. Their attack. It actually passed through this guy's body? It was like hitting a phantom of nothingness. The void beast turned its head and stared at the senior sacred tree masters who came forward. Damn, this monster seems to have intelligence. The several divine tree masters who were targeted immediately felt a huge pressure coming from in front of them, and even their breathing became heavy. Moreover, monsters in the gray world generally do not think, let alone choose to attack. Enemy. The void beast in front of him broke common sense. This monster has special attributes. It takes a special attack to be effective. Divine tree masters from the Holy Light system and the Demon system came out to form a formation. I don't believe it, this monster is not immune to any attack. A guild leader immediately took the lead and said. In this situation, as a leader, you must stand up. Otherwise, if you are frightened by the aura of this void beast and dare not take action, then you don't even need to fight. The team members are about to be ruthlessly killed. After hearing the words of these seniors, the guild members present also gathered together, with the sacred tree masters with rare attributes being prioritized, and the sacred tree masters behind them formed a group. Large formation. Usually, the attack of the formation is different from the attack of ordinary sacred tree masters, and it is easier to resist monsters with high resistance and cause damage. Snort. In this world, there must be no monster that cannot be attacked. It's just that the attack power is not strong enough. The president sneered and said, "Kill it." The sacred tree masters behind him launched attacks one after another. However, an unexpected scene happened. All the attacks, when they fell on the void beast, did no damage at all. Continue. The president pretended to be calm and commanded, "Our attack is almost effective." Roar. The void beast let out a violent howl, but it was unmoved at all. The nearby guild members' fighting will has been weakened. What happened? Our attacks have no effect at all. It's over, this guy is here, help me. Ah! None of the attacks had any effect. However, the void beast was completely angered by the actions of these sacred tree masters and began to kill. The first to bear the brunt is the formation divine tree master. Those formation mages all had their necks bitten to pieces by the void beast, blood spurted out, and they soon fell into a pool of blood. President, our attacks have no effect. The sacred tree master next to him turned around and called out to the president. As a result, when he turned around and saw, their president was missing. Ran. The remaining guild members are all confused. They didn't realize it until now. This so-called guild leader doesn't know how to deal with these monsters. The calmness before were all just an act. Put them away. When the gunhead bird uses it and finds that it still cannot defeat the enemy, it will abandon its members without hesitation and choose to escape. That bastard. Everyone couldn't help but cursed. Roar. The voice of the void beast came again. All the sacred tree masters stationed here, how could they dare to stay any longer? They panicked and ran away desperately. At this moment, Brother Long and others rushed to the battlefield. Town. A mysterious rune suddenly came from the void and headed towards the void beast to suppress it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 213. The moment the runes shrouded in golden light were photographed, the void beast was immediately imprisoned. The big guys behind him all had mysterious patterns in their hands. But after a while, the void beast was entangled in runes and was completely killed. The runes of Master 3 Rings are indeed exquisite and easy to use. Unexpectedly, among so many superpowers, it was the Taoist superpower that had the greatest effect on the void beast. Next, if you want to enter this dungeon, you need to at least control your Taoist proficiency to the entry level, otherwise you won't be able to hurt even the void beast. Everyone from the Fenjiun Guild arrived near the entrance to the Abyss of Reincarnation. Thanks for your help. The rescued Divine Tree Master cast a grateful look at everyone in Fenjiun Guild. Fen Yun nodded lightly without making much response. Those few people hesitated to speak. Finally, the leader of the team came out and asked, "Excuse me, some big guys, if we can follow you, the benefits are okay. No need to say more." Fen Yun waved his hand and said, "We have an independent guild, and we have no plans to form alliances with other guilds. These monsters cannot be killed using ordinary attack methods. For you, the difficulty of this dungeon is too high and is beyond your reach. Go back as soon as possible." The members of this guild, after being rejected, could only return angrily. When they saw that Fenjiun Guild's Divine Tree Master had the ability to deal with void beasts, they naturally had some thoughts. But the joining of this group of people, in addition to apart from sharing the benefits, it will not be of any help to the members of Fenjiun Guild. So, how can we let people follow us and get the benefits in vain? After confirming that this group of people have returned, the white-haired girl said with a solemn face, "Although we use Taoism, it can also work against this kind of monster, but its power is compressed very little." The young man leading the way next to him echoed, "Yeah, this damn place looks really wrong, and it also compresses the field of vision. How about we go back?" "You've already come, why go back?" Brother Long gave the young boy an annoyed look, but his expression became slightly serious. "We need to be more careful on the next journey. Taoism is not a heavy attack, but a magical ability. These void beasts can move through space to get close to their opponents. They are very elusive. If you are not careful, you will be killed by a sneak attack. One person must be separated and use the infinite void power of the Divine Tree Master to detect the whereabouts of these void beasts." The white-haired girl took the initiative. "Let me use the void power." "Okay, then the president and I will be responsible for the battle." Brother Long nodded. At this time, everyone had to sigh. Fenjiun's ability to form alliances is really useful. If they didn't have void powers or Taoist powers, they would definitely be unable to move forward in this dungeon. And it is precisely because Fenjiun Guild has recruited enough outstanding Divine Tree Masters. After forming an alliance, the abilities of each big boss are superimposed, and the fighting power they exert is naturally extraordinary. Everyone continues to move towards the depths of the abyss, slowly move forward slowly. At this moment, the white-haired girl's eyes suddenly moved. "Come and take a look, there are residual energy reverberations here." Fen Yun's mind suddenly moved. He stepped forward to check, his brows wrinkled slightly. "By you, why didn't I feel the energy fluctuations you mentioned?" "President, if you use my Byakugan and try to check, you will be able to find this residual energy." "Good." As soon as he finished speaking, not only Fenjiun, but also Brother Long and several divine tree masters around him successfully used Bai Yu's pupil technique. The hidden information nearby was revealed through a new perspective in a unique way. The form of the energy distribution interface is displayed in front of everyone. There were many void beasts nearby, and they died not long ago. Moreover, there are many types of abilities left in it. There is also a very sinister aura. Another trace of pure and incomparable life essence. What is going on? Feng Yun, Brother Long and others had shocked looks on their faces. The young man leading the way jumped out and asked what happened. What did you see? Bai Yu's pupil technique, White Eyes, is a quasi-S-level power, and the pupil technique power is usually not that easy to use. Many members of the Fenjian Guild, not to mention ordinary members, even the core members may not be able to use it. Showing Bai Yu's superpower. Fenjian said with a serious look, there was a battle here, which means there has been a divine tree master who fought against the void beast here. Moreover, from the remaining energy, I sense the breath of the reincarnation fragments. It means that person has the special ability to kill the monster in this copy. Only then did the young man leading the way realize that a sacred tree master had been here. Moreover, it is much faster than the progress of Fenjian Guild. He stamped his feet with an annoyed look on his face. Well, if we guard here, others won't get there first. No. Feng Yun shook his head. That's not the point. Ah. The young man who led the way had a puzzled look on his face. In his eyes, Fenjian Guild is already the strongest guild. If someone is in front of them, of course they have a time advantage and came in earlier than them. Is it possible? Can these people be faster than Fenjian Guild? Bai Yu said seriously. The energy traces at the scene are very clean, and the battle will not last long. This shows that the opponent takes very little time to kill the monster. It can basically be said to be a crushing. But this copy is so special that ordinary attacks are ineffective against monsters. Who has this ability? Only then did everyone react. They followed Feng Yun and others and passed through all levels with great ease. However, they ignored that the void beast was almost immune to the abilities of most of the divine tree masters. Although Taoism can work, the effect is at least weak. 50%. The origin of a divine tree master who can crush and kill void beasts must be extraordinary. Such a powerful divine tree master, or rather, a guild, seems to have never been heard of before. Then get in front of the copy. What is the origin of this master? Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 214. The Abyss of Reincarnation. A ray of sword light suddenly slashed diagonally from the front. It's like the waterfall of the 9 heavens Milky Way falling. In an instant, the bodies of several void beasts that rushed around were separated into 2 halves. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the void beast and obtained the advanced Samsara fragment. Add 1. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the void beast and obtained the advanced Samsara fragment. Add 1. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the void beast and obtained the advanced Samsara fragment. Add 1. After a period of killing, the number of void beasts appearing nearby is increasing. However, the little white fox lurks in the void and can capture the location of places at any time. Boom! A terrible flame swept across all directions. Divine Dragonman activates 9 heavens. Ahead, a vast field of fire suddenly illuminated the entire abyss. The sacred fire carries divine power and has the effect of being immune to ignorance. Any void beast that pounces on it will be incinerated in the blink of an eye, just like a moth flying into the flames. The moment it touches the fire net, its body will be incinerated. The azure hidden dragon let out a roar. Lightning suddenly covered the world. Pikachu, on the other hand, copied Dragonman's abilities. After all, Shendraman, as the most evolved pet, has the strongest combat power. The Sherinon successfully replicates the skill of Divine Fire and can achieve the same effect when released against surrounding monsters. UMI possesses Shendraman and continuously releases healing light curtains to increase buff. As the main force that kills the most enemies, Shendraman can be said to have attracted a large amount of hatred. Allowing UMI to possess it can also help the battlefield situation to the greatest extent. Of course, these void beasts on the periphery can only carry out sneak attacks with their abilities. Under the offensive of the pet army, tens of thousands of void beasts died in Lu Shu's hands. At this time, a hissing sound of strange beasts echoed around the abyss and valley. Suddenly, huge pythons jumped out of the shadows. The next second, the python turned into a black line, as if it wanted to penetrate directly into the body of the dragon beast. Lu Shu's eyes suddenly became fierce. All things Dao pattern. The buzzing sound of the avenue suddenly spread between heaven and earth. All around the pet army, bright golden lotuses suddenly rose up. No, it was not just a golden lotus phenomenon. Colorful auspicious clouds, auspicious purple light, heavenly clouds and mist, all kinds of miraculous things. The signs turned into a field, blocking the attack of the shadow python. Hiss. The moment the shadow python touched the vision, its body seemed to be blocked by something, and it reflexively took half a step back. Its cold eyes stared at the field summoned by Lu Shu, full of fear. In front of Lu Shu, a monster panel popped up. Reincarnation silhouette. Shadow python. Category, Shadow of Reincarnation. Danger coefficient, S+. Perception range, 1,500 meters. Power, 3,200. Speed, 4,150. Defense, 3,220. Skills, Void Escape, Reincarnation Silhouette, Tier, Abyss Amplification, Integrate into Shadow, Sneak Night, Shadow Attack. Description, Be careful. These reincarnation silhouettes from the abyss have the blood of the ancient shadow pythons and can blend into the night and darkness. When they turn into shadows, they will have super resistance and speed, making them difficult to prevent and resist. Turn into shadow. The corners of Lu Shu's mouth raised slightly. This is one of his special skills. What surprised Lu Shu was that it seemed to be in a special environment of the abyss, so the intensity of the shadow python blending into the night was no worse than that of the shadow assassin. However, Lu Shu is no longer as simple as a shadow assassin. His body is condensed with shadow killing patterns. This is a more advanced shadow killing path. The shadow python's use of shadow talents is incomparable to Lu Shu's shadow. Kill the avenue to compare. Everything returns to its shadow. Lu Shu's voice echoed indifferently on the field. With a move of his hand, the whole world suddenly became dark. No. If we say that the darkness of the abyss is just darkness without a light source, then, Lu Shu used the shadow killing avenue, all nearby people, everything seemed to be sucked into the shadow. The shadow python suddenly felt a burst of instinctive fear from the heart. They instinctively felt that Lu Shu had a transcendent power, and this power was still powerful to them. It has a strong restraint effect. In this way, you should no longer be able to take advantage of your talents. Lu Shu chuckled. That's right. The shadow python used the abyss to turn into a shadow, trying to escape directly into the body of the divine dragon beast and kill the divine dragon beast directly. Of course, with the attributes of the divine dragon beast, even if it is true if the shadow python's attack succeeds, it will never be killed immediately. What's more, UMI is possessed by Shendraman, so the chance of killing him is even lower. But Lu Shu is not interested. Give your opponent any chance. Directly turn the nearby area into your own shadow realm. Although the shadow python can turn into shadows in this space, Lu Shu's pet army also received the buff bonus of the shadow realm. The two are equivalent to fighting in one space. The gap caused by the shadow talent is smoothed out. Shendraman, use 7 heavens. Pikachu, copy the power of Dragonman. Little White Fox, restrict the activities of the shadow python. Following Lu Shu's order, the surrounding pet army immediately started killing. The little white fox took the lead in using the space power. The shadow python suddenly felt that its body was as if it was stuck in a quagmire, and it was difficult to move. The dragon beast and Pikachu released 7 heavens at the same time. The rolling divine fire immediately covered the bodies of all the shadow pythons. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the shadow python, and got add 5 advanced Samsara fragments. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the shadow python, and got add 5 advanced Samsara fragments. You killed the Samsara silhouette and the shadow python, and got add 5 advanced Samsara fragments. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 215. The number of high-level reincarnation fragments that the shadow python can provide is 5 times that of the void beast. My current fragments total 35,000 pieces. This advanced fusion material only requires 10 times the amount to fuse the same monster. That is to say, I can now fuse 3,500 void beasts. On the sacred tree island, Lu Shu's true form opened his eyes. He opened the warehouse. It was filled with debris. It's time to summon an army of monsters. The Netherworld army was not summoned to this battlefield due to its attributes. The attacks of these monster legions cannot cause substantial damage to the Samsara silhouette. But if the void beast is summoned and fused, it will be different. In this way, as long as the fusion is carried out, the monsters you own will. The Vanguard Legion also has the ability to kill the silhouette of reincarnation. Do you want to consume advanced reincarnation fragment X 35,000 and summon reincarnation silhouette? Void beast X 3500. Yes. The next second. In the open space ahead, a summoning light curtain rose. 3,500 void beasts appeared on the spot. That amount can be described as huge. However, for Lu Shu, it's not about quantity, but about essence. Choose fusion. The vanguard of that group of monster legions give priority to merging void beasts. Up to now, hundreds of monsters have been fused with the undead souls of the Divine Tree Master. Not only do they have the attributes of the Netherworld, but now they also have the attributes of reincarnation and void. Even an S-level Divine Tree Master may not be able to deal with them. Most of the relatively inferior Netherworld army has reached S-level after incorporating the attributes of the Samsara silhouette. Moreover, it is not as simple as an ordinary S-class. With the various resistances of reincarnation and the Netherworld, if the sacred tree masters of the Grey World encountered it, it would be enough to give them a headache for a long time. The remaining few hundred, after fusion, also created a quite powerful army. The ability of monster fusion is more powerful than I expected. Lu Shu couldn't help but sigh. When he first obtained the power of this sacred tree, Lu Shu didn't feel that this skill was so powerful. But after a period of verification, the fusion is really easy to use. Of course. This is also based on the fact that Lu Shu's progress is faster than other sacred tree masters, so that the fusion skills can be maximized. In a short period of time, Lu Shu can continuously conquer new dungeons and find different types of monsters to fuse. Therefore, the progress looks extremely amazing. If it were another sacred tree master to use this skill, just challenging other copies and preparing fusion materials, I don't know how much time it would take. If it cannot be guaranteed if the progress of materials and dungeons keeps up, the speed of creating monster legions will be extremely slow. This means that the summoner profession is destined to be played by only a few divine tree masters. At this moment, Lu Shu frowned slightly. He sensed that in the abyss of reincarnation, there were already divine tree masters getting closer and closer to his position. Because this time, there were many sacred tree masters going to this copy. When Lu Shu was going down, he placed many wicks of street lanterns along the way. These wicks provided a lot of vision. He could know that the position of the sacred tree master was getting closer and closer to him. It should be the sacred tree master of Fenjiun Guild. Lu Shu secretly thought in his heart. The strength of this guild is indeed not simple. Of course, since the other party has no direct conflict of interest with him, Lu Shu has no intention of exterminating them all. However, he is in the process of conquering the dungeon, so he does not intend to disturb by them. In this case, let my monster army accompany you to have fun. Lu Shu smiled. He wanted to try what his monster army could do when it met the top guild in the Shenshu game. The abyss of reincarnation, the periphery. Bai Yu silently recited the mysterious and obscure Taoist pattern. In the void, golden talismans appeared in the void. The surrounding sacred tree masters immediately used Taoist magic to hunt down the surrounding void beasts. The leading boy hid behind the crowd, watched his teammates kill the enemy, and smiled from behind. These monsters don't look very strong. After killing the monsters around him, Fen Yun's expression was not as relaxed as expected, but he said with confusion. Have you noticed that the number of these monsters is not as large as we thought? Brother Long and Bai Yu stood there, also frowning. They thought for a moment. Bai Yu's pupils suddenly activated the white eye technique. They glanced around. She slowly said what the president said, that's right, there seemed to be something a little unreasonable about us along the way. As soon as these words came out, the young man leading the way was a little confused. Wait, what did you notice again? We got through customs all the way, wasn't it pretty smooth? Could it be that the boss of this dungeon is secretly tricking us? Fen Yun shook his head, pointed at the monsters around him and said. Have you noticed that the number of monsters we encountered throughout the level were almost the same? From the entrance of the abyss to now, the number of monsters has not increased. Generally speaking, no matter what dungeon you conquer, as long as you go deeper, the level and number of monsters will increase. But now that we have come all the way, the strength of the monsters has not improved significantly, but the number is unstable. Everyone also realized this from Fenjiun's words. Brother Long frowned and asked, could it be that the Divine Tree Master Guild who was walking in front of us killed all the monsters in advance? Unconsciously, Brother Long has completely ruled out the possibility of a personal tree master in front of him. If it can cause large-scale killings and reduce the number of monsters here, then it will definitely not be a personal tree master. Go ahead and take a look. Fen Yun paused and said. Just when they had not walked for long, suddenly, a strange monster army appeared in front of them, blocking their way forward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 216. Careful. Bai Yu paused, and her eyes became alert. In front of her, hundreds of monsters suddenly appeared. On their bodies were the marks of the silhouette of reincarnation. Finally encountered a new monster type. A member of the guild rubbed his fists with a bellicose smile on his face. Don't let your guard down. Bai Yu said in a solemn tone, these monsters are different from the void beasts just now. They have an extremely sinister aura on their bodies, and the feeling they give me has completely changed. That's right, Fen Yun nodded, you all should pay attention, the origins of these monsters are not ordinary. Members of other guilds are also very alert. Only a few high-level officials in Fenjiun Guild can use Byakugan. Only then do they know what is happening ahead. In fact, from the perspective of Byakugan, the power fluctuations of these monsters are much more powerful than the void beasts just now. No, it's not just the breath. Experts often have a very sharp sense of smell for their enemies. This group of monsters, just standing there, gives Fenjiun and others brought a full sense of oppression. We have also killed many dungeon monsters along the way. These monsters should not be impossible to deal with. Brother. Long glanced at the teammates around him and commanded. According to previous combat experience, try to imprison these monsters first, and then launch an attack. Good. Everyone nodded. As soon as they finished speaking, golden Dao patterns appeared in the hands of Fenjiun, Baiyu, and Brother Long. The Dao patterns seemed to form a formation of heaven and earth, and enveloped the group of monsters. Within a moment, Dao patterns are all over this space. The monsters in front are obviously much slower in movement. It's now, Fen Yun said loudly. The teammates behind him immediately transformed into various Taoist supernatural attacks and attacked and killed the group of grey monsters. However, one of the monsters suddenly spit out a sound wave from his mouth. This sound wave transformed into huge ripples spread around, and when they collided with the Dao technique, they actually offset the Tao technique's attack. Together with the surrounding runes, they also began to vibrate violently. And the other monster's hand suddenly transformed into a strange flute. When the monster blew the flute, strange music floated around. All the sacred tree masters who heard this music couldn't help but kneel on the ground, covering their heads, feeling a severe impact on their hearts. Psychic attack. Fen Yun's expression suddenly changed. These monsters are indeed stranger than I imagined. Bai Yu said solemnly. Mental attacks are not ordinary attacks. Generally, only Lord-level monsters can perform attacks of this level. If they are ordinary mobs, their own attributes are relatively weak, even if they are in pieces. If they gather together and use mental attacks, they can be easily destroyed. However, the monster in front of them not only uses mental attacks. The flute in its hand is also similar to an advanced weapon. When paired together, the effect of the illusion is even stronger now. Everyone in the Fenjiun Guild also carries some jewelry and equipment, which are resistant to spiritual attacks. Moreover, most of their sacred tree masters have strong spiritual power and are immune to most spiritual attacks. However, it's just the little monster, the sound of the flute, made most of the members of the guild lose the ability to resist. Except for Baiyu, Fenjiun and other senior sacred tree masters, they would not be completely suppressed, but they were still more or less affected. Impact. The condition of other sacred tree masters is even worse. The attacks of these monsters seem to be different. Baiyu's pupils glanced back and forth between the whistling and flute-playing monsters, and his tone became more solemn. Fen Yun's brows furrowed even more tightly. Yes, Baiyu's words reminded him. Generally speaking, monsters of the same type should be similar in terms of attack methods and characteristics. But the attack methods of these monsters seem to be very different. The whistling monster uses the ability of chaos. When the whistle sounds, the surrounding Dao patterns will begin to become unstable. All physical laws and space laws began to shake violently at this moment, thus breaking the stability of the Taoist formation. In addition, the mental attack of playing the flute weakened the mental power of all Fenjiun Guild members, causing their overall combat capabilities to drop a lot. In just the blink of an eye, Fenjiun Guild was completely at a disadvantage. I just said that these monsters are easy to deal with. Why did the level change instantly? Fenjiun glanced at the leading boy subconsciously. The young man half opened his mouth, as if he was shouting, but after receiving such a glare, he shut up instantly. Well, I have to admit that my crow's mouth is really not suitable for talking anymore. Fenjiun's eyes looked at the monster in front of him again. Of these dozen monsters, only 2 are taking action now, while the rest are still watching covetously from behind. For some reason, Fenjiun suddenly had an illusion, as if this monster army were not unconscious monsters, but were facing a well-trained divine tree master guild. He has never encountered an opponent who can bring such pressure to him. Baiyu, use your eye skills to find their weaknesses. The attack methods of these monsters are very similar to our human abilities. We must find their weak spots before we know how to act. Baiyu nodded, and then further strengthened the white eyes pupil technique, watching every move of the opponent. Suddenly, the monsters behind started to take action. Black magic, death arrows, triple time speed. Various different powers caused the pupils of Fengyun Guild members to shrink violently. For a moment. The next second. Just as these attacks were about to sweep through Fengyun Guild, the surrounding night suddenly darkened. Just in the blink of an eye, the field of vision is infinitely compressed. Darkness has fallen on the earth. Fengyun suddenly looked back, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said in a deep voice. Dark Knight Alliance. This group of people actually came here. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 217. Now. Night Realm. Countless light sources were swallowed up. Even the attacks from those monsters were swallowed. Enya stepped out of the night, glanced at Fengyun Guild lightly, and then looked at the monster in front of him with a slightly solemn look. People from the Dark Knight Alliance, why did they get here so quickly? Now, the situation becomes troublesome. Those cold-blooded lunatics would actually help us? This is unscientific. Everyone in Fengyun Guild is looking at Enya with vigilant eyes. Although the opponent's action just now helped several people in Fengyun Guild escape from the crisis, Enya has always had a bad reputation. We still need to be wary of these people. Baiyu has returned next to Fengyun. He frowned and said, President, what should we do now? Fengyun pondered for a moment, and then walked to the front of Enya. Sir, these monsters are not something ordinary tree masters can deal with. Are you considering joining forces? Enya glanced at Fengyun with a slight contempt and said the combined superpowers are just quantity but not quality. No matter how many powers there are, no matter how many people join together, they still can't compare to the real top powers. As soon as Enya finished speaking, the eyes of everyone in Fengyun Guild suddenly became unhappy. No wonder Enya chose to take action at this time. After the reputation has been ruined during this period, the blood-generating ability of the Dark Knight Alliance has dropped too much. On the contrary, the momentum was stolen by the Fengyun Guild. Now, Dark Knight has chosen to repel the enemy, and in turn saved the Fengyun Guild. In fact, it is building momentum for the Dark Knight Alliance. Doesn't this mean that when facing the Grey World copy, the Dark Knight Alliance is it stronger than Fengyun Guild? Sure enough, the other party has no good intentions. Since you are so confident, you can go up and try it yourself first. Fengyun paused, suddenly smiled, and led Fengyun Guild to take a few steps back. He gave up the battlefield to the Dark Knight Alliance. However, this move made several members of the guild feel a little dissatisfied. Someone came to Fengyun's beside him. He whispered, President, are we giving in now? Fengyun shook his head and said, these monsters are not that simple. You will know after reading them. At this moment, the realm of night enveloped all the monsters. Today, I will let you know that only top-level abilities have the greatest value. Enya sneered and used the night domain. This abyss was suddenly shrouded in endless shadows. It was like a huge curtain, wrapping everything here. As expected of the president. Is this the power of the Dark Knight fruit? Killing these Grey World monsters in seconds is absolutely a piece of cake. The guild members behind immediately began to flatter them. Their expressions were full of admiration. The age of these sacred tree masters is usually relatively young, which can also explain what kind of new blood the Dark Knight Alliance has imported during this period. Divine Tree Master. However, at this moment, from the darkness, a ray of holy light suddenly broke through the surrounding night. Holy light power. Dark Knight's eyes suddenly moved. However, from the night, I don't know when a few more monsters appeared. Those monsters had never appeared on the battlefield before. At this time, they suddenly appeared in Dark Knight's realm. Moreover, the power of the Holy Light system was released. This sudden change caught Enya off guard. The next second, the dazzling Holy Light penetrated the Dark Knight. At that moment, Enya was in the most vulnerable state. And a monster from the grey world suddenly teleported to Enya's side out of thin air. There was a crash sound all around them, and the next second, chains with spells wrapped around Enya's body. Damn it! Enya gritted his teeth, and a black energy emerged from his body. Immediately afterwards, his figure merged into the night, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared 100 meters away in the night field. This time, he seemed to have escaped a dangerous attack by teleporting. But at the location where the teleportation landed in the dark night, a few extremely cold eyes were already looking at him. Death stare. The next second, Enya felt that his soul was being violently pulled. Even his mental power was suppressed to a certain extent, making it difficult to use it. Enya's eyes were full of horror, and he shouted to the members behind him. "Road! Come and give me a hand." After hearing this, several sacred tree masters of the Dark Knight Alliance immediately used the power of the Dark Knight fruit, instantly turning Dark Knight's body into darkness and pulling him to his side. Dark Knight can use the power of shadow, as long as there are teammates around him, you can instantly enter the shadow of your teammates. This extremely dangerous attack was finally defused. Everyone in the Fengyun Guild felt frightened when they saw this scene. Brother Long admired him, Guild President, no wonder you didn't choose to go up. These monsters are simply too weird. Bye. You frowned and said in a deep voice. The abilities of these monsters are a bit beyond my expectations. This is the first time I have seen a monster that can use holy light powers in the grey world. Moreover, those monsters were transported to the night realm through dark night powers, which shows that their night powers are not even worse than those of dark night fruits. Do you think this super nightmarish copy is too weird? Everyone reacted after being said like this. Yes. I feel that these monsters are completely different from the void beasts just now. However, when the monsters later used void teleportation to hunt down Dark Knight, the ability is exactly the same as that of the void beast. Everyone in the Fengyun Guild is puzzled. The monsters just now were fairly manageable. Now, after this group of monsters appeared, they suddenly became no match for them. And, they have conquered countless dungeons. I have never seen mobs with such rich skills, they are comparable to boss. No. Even the boss of the Abyss level dungeon cannot compare with these monsters. It feels more like facing a sacred tree division. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 218. The Abyss of Reincarnation. Under 10,000 meters. Lu Shu led the monster army and killed all the nearby monsters. His eyes moved slightly and he suddenly laughed. Interesting. The sacred tree master outside is really getting more and more lively. However, with their current level, they still cannot break through my monster vanguard army. It seems that the ability of my monster army is powerful enough. That's right. Those strengthened monsters are actually not the monsters of this dungeon. They are Lu Shu's monster army. If the sacred tree masters outside know what they are dealing with, they are not the monsters of this dungeon at all. No, how would you feel if you knew it? The ability of the Monster Legion was actually beyond Lu Shu's expectations. Although he used the ability of the Shadow Killing Path and the Holy Light Deo Mark to help these monsters. After all, only a part of them were dispatched. The Vanguard Army. Lu Shu also mobilized more monster vanguards to go to the front-line battlefield. Therefore, those monsters alone were able to block the Divine Tree Master Guild, which was beyond Lu Shu's expectations. Things are getting more and more lively. Through the power of resonance, Lu Shu saw the periphery of the abyss from the perspective of the Monster Legion. More and more sacred tree masters had arrived at the position of his Monster Legion. Of course, judging from the current situation, due to the emergence of the Dark Knight Alliance, the Divine Tree Master Guilds present were extremely wary of each other, and they all speculated on each other's intentions. People's hearts are at odds. This means that the divine tree masters on the field are not only unable to successfully achieve cooperation and alliance relationships, but may also be opposed to each other. Among them, Lu Shu saw several guilds of divine tree masters who were enemies of each other gathered together. If it weren't for the Fenjiun Guild, the Dark Knight Alliance, and their own monster army guarding there might have been a fight at any time. The current situation is actually more favorable to me. Lu Shu smiled softly. The number of these sacred tree masters has increased, and the situation has become more complicated. The conflict of interests of those guilds is obvious. But he is hidden in the Monster Legion, and in the eyes of other sacred tree masters it seems that monsters in the grey world cannot understand human activities. With this intelligence gap, it can give you a lot of room to operate. It is enough for dozens of monster vanguards to block all the sacred tree masters. As for the interior of the Abyss Dungeon, Lu Shu can safely carry out the sweep. Tip: there is a reincarnation maze ahead, the danger factor increases, and elite monsters appear. Suddenly, a line of text appeared in front of Lu Shu. This is still a copy of the guide, a reminder that rarely appears. A special area. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. The number of monsters around him suddenly became much rarer. But if you use your mental power to sense it, you will find that the aura of the surrounding abyss is much stronger than before. The nearby field of vision has also changed. It was a lot darker. Even with the divine fire lighting up the surroundings, it still felt quite dark here. No one knew what was ahead. Waiting for him, he walked forward for a while. At this moment, in front of Lu Shu, a deep tunnel appeared. Is this the entrance to the maze? Based on the previous tips, Lu Shu can be sure that he has arrived at the core area of the Samsara Abyss. From the entrance to the huge abyss, he has been sneaking 10,000 meters downward. In fact, he has just passed the outermost test. The copy of the core area will start from this maze. The void beasts and shadow pythons that appear outside, as well as the reincarnation silhouettes of other vicious beast types, are just appetizers. The real enemies will appear within the maze. No wonder the monsters outside only drop some material fragments. It turns out that we haven't reached the core area of this copy yet. From this point of view, although the Abyss of Reincarnation only has one more super word than the nightmare level copy, it is much more difficult. Lu Shu took a deep breath. There was a bit of excitement in his eyes. The more difficult the copy, of course it means a higher rate of return. Thinking of this, he walked towards the direction of the maze. This maze extends in all directions. Every few steps, a fork in the road will appear. Lu Shu tried to carve a mark at the entrance of the cave. However, something strange happened. This cave seemed to be alive. If he left a mark here, in a short period of time, the mark was healed visibly to the naked eye. It didn't take long before it returned to its original state. That is to say, ordinary sacred tree masters have no way to judge whether they have lost their way by leaving marks. Lu Shu showed a thoughtful expression. He tried to use the divine fire in his hand to leave a burning mark on the area. Divine power may be more useful. But the burning mark on the ground will not heal. The speed is even faster. No matter how much damage is done or how the terrain is changed, no mark can be left behind. By the way, the wicks of street lamp flowers. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. Since he couldn't leave a mark, he would leave some clues. He tried to put the wick of the street lamp flower on the ground. In this way, without destroying the terrain here, the street lamp flower you can keep the wick here. As long as you leave the wick, you can judge whether you are lost. But this will also leave a problem. What if there are a few sacred tree masters outside who slip through the net and sneak in secretly? Here, you may find your own wick. Lu Shu has a solution to this problem a long time ago. Launch the shadow killing avenue. He gently touched the wick, and a night projection instantly enveloped the wick. The next second, the wick turned out to be invisible. But the effect is still there. Even if you come in the dark night, you can't find the wick left behind. Lu Shu's shadow killing path has surpassed the level of shadow assassin, and it is no longer comparable to ordinary powers. After doing this everything, Lu Shu headed forward to explore. However, after a period of exploration, when he traveled to an intersection again, he found the first wick he left behind. Coming back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 219. Coming back. Lu Shu frowned slightly. He remembered that he had tried to avoid the original path and explore forward. However, after going around and around, he returned to the starting point. Try walking towards another intersection. Lu Shu pondered for a moment, then chose a different intersection than last time and tried to enter it. However, after walking for about half an hour, Lu Shu returned to the first intersection. Going around and around, came back again. Should you choose another intersection, or try the intersection you have already been to? Lu Shu frowned and thought. This maze is a lot weirder than imagined. Every time he enters an intersection, Lu Shu will leave a wick of a street lamp in place. Logically speaking, as long as I left the wick behind and walked towards the intersection without the wick, if I kept exploring, I should be able to move forward. But what I didn't expect was that I had returned to the starting point twice in a row. Moreover, it was also the first one I left behind. Street lantern wicks. But the strange thing is that he has never encountered other wicks. Lu Shu returned to the starting point twice in a row, and the 2 wicks he encountered again returned to the starting point. After walking for such a long time, what he left behind, the number of wicks was in the thousands. The wicks that were encountered twice in a row were the wicks left behind by the first time. This probability is completely unreasonable. When something goes wrong, there must be a monster. Lu Shu was not in such a hurry to move forward rashly. He moved slowly towards an intersection. Suddenly, he seemed to have changed his attention. I would like to see how the intersection I visited before is now. Lu Shu smiled softly, and then he stepped towards the intersection he had entered before. As a result, a strange thing happened. Entering this intersection, he did not find the wick of the street lamp left behind. Originally, logically speaking, Lu Shu had entered the same intersection before. He should have left a wick of a street lamp here. However, the wick that should have appeared has disappeared. Disappeared. If the wick disappears, then Lu Shu shouldn't be able to find the wick left behind the first time. What is going on? Purple Chi power. The next second, a purple sheen appeared in Lu Shu's pupils. The vision in front of him immediately changed. The originally seemingly calm surroundings were actually filled with countless undercurrents. Lu Shu walked in this maze, as if like walking on a treadmill. He seemed to be moving, but in fact he was not. In other words, he did not move to his goal. Because the transformation of this maze caused Lu Shu to return to the starting point many times. I see. Lu Shu laughed. He already understood the principle of this maze. It is indeed a super nightmare copy. It turned out to be a living maze. If I didn't have the pupil technique, I might not be able to see it. Lu Shu opened the purple pupil power again, trying to find a path. But, the purple chi pupil power is the soul sea that is opened up when you are promoted to the golden elixir realm. It is not a professional pupil power in itself. It is a kind of soul sea formed form. Therefore, it is not yet capable of breaking the laws of the maze. Green hidden dragon, open your white eyes. Lu Shu suddenly summoned the green hidden dragon and said. The eyes of the sky blue hidden dragon instantly turned on the form of white eyes. The next second, Lu Shu activated resonance. His vision suddenly changed. The mazes, all the changes are not so obvious in front of the purple eyes, but after switching to the visual state of Byakugan, everything is clear and easy to understand. Not only that, Byakugan can even see more things in the depths of the darkness. The vision in this area is blocked, but when placed in front of Byakugan, it becomes extremely clear. The breadth of the abyss here can't block Byakugan's vision. It seems that the power of eye technique is much more powerful than I imagined. Lu Shu's eyes moved and he couldn't help but sigh. With the white-eyed vision of the azure hidden dragon, now Lu Shu can easily find the way to change the maze. Move towards the front again. Having seen through the maze after the change, Lu Shu discovered that every time he walked a certain distance, the nearby cave passages were secretly changing. In the past, without the help of Byakugan, it seemed to be moving forward, but in fact it was spinning in circles. Circle. However, with Byakugan's perspective, Lu Shu has already seen which passage is the real way to the front. As long as you walk forward, you can continue to go deeper into the maze. As expected. Halfway through, when he was a child, Lu Shu had never encountered the street lantern wicks he left behind. The number of passages ahead gradually decreased from the many forks in the road. At this moment, a line of text appeared in front of Lu Shu's eyes. Tips. Tip: there is a treasure chest maze ahead. Open the treasure chest and you will get a surprise or a test. Interesting. Lu Shu walked toward the maze room. In front of him, in the center of the room, was a treasure box made of silver. According to the prompts, if you open the treasure box, you will get a surprise. Or maybe a shock. Lu Shu walked forward calmly. At this moment, a silver blade suddenly cut towards Lu Shu's face. It was so fast that people could hardly react. When the silver blade touched at that moment, Lu Shu's body seemed to be cut into a shadow. Lu Shu's body completely turned into darkness. And, in an instant, he moved a few steps to the side, avoiding the crisis. Could it actually cause some harm to me? A burst of healing green light appeared on Lu Shu's body. This is the phoenix fruit to repair injuries. His eyes also became focused. He raised the divine fire source in his hand and radiated it forward. More than a dozen, a huge monster of the opposite sex, with a body like a silver snake but a tail like a scorpion, appeared in front of Lu Shu. Hiss. The sound made by the monster was like a snake's cry, but it was harsh and unpleasant, and it also had a slight suppressive effect of mental power. Lu Shu smiled and said, "It turns out that this is the test of the treasure box. As long as I kill you, you should be able to get the treasure chest." Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 220. In front of Lu Shu, a monster panel popped up. Reincarnation treasure chest. Time and space silver python. Category, Shadow of Reincarnation. Danger coefficient, S+. Perception range, 2000 meters. Power, 3200. Speed, 5550. Defense, 3920. Skills, Void Escape, Reincarnation Silhouette, Time Travel, Abyss Amplification, Silver Snake Bloodline, 3 double time rate. Description: be careful of this giant python that appears in the abyss. They often guard next to the treasure chest, and receive gifts from the treasure chest, possessing extremely powerful abilities and attributes. The time and space silver python possesses the ability of time and space, and its unexpected attack is difficult to parry. The next second, the time and space silver python arrived in front of Lu Shu in the blink of an eye at an incredible speed. Triple time rate. It's not just as simple as being faster. Being in the same space and time, the time movement speed of the time and space silver python is 3 times that of Lu Shu. Therefore, from the naked eye, It looked like the time and space silver python had arrived in front of Lu Shu in the blink of an eye. After the speed of the space-time silver python became faster, Lu Shu's own speed also slowed down. This speed is actually faster than the little white fox. Lu Shu's eyes moved slightly. The time and space silver python not only has the ability to escape from the sky, but can also control time. Even if this ability is placed on the list of the Divine Tree Master, it will definitely be ranked above S level. Of course, their number is also much less than the void beasts outside. Pikachu, copying the time speed of Silver Python 3 times. UMI, possessing Pikachu. Divine Dragonman opens its Byakugan to capture the enemy's movements. Lu Shu thought and gave the order to fight. The pet army instantly formed a battle formation. Pikachu copied 3 times the time speed and instantly applied the same buff to all teammates, including Lu Shu. The enemy has 3 times the time speed, and when we also have 3 times the time speed, everyone's speed was pulled to a horizontal line, making up. Through the resonance vision, Lu Shu quickly saw clearly the space-time silver python. Action! He raised his hand slightly. Countless avenue visions suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. The avenue of Vientiane. Using this magical power, you can summon the visions of heaven and earth and suppress your opponents. It is equivalent to Lu Shu's domain. Or, the projection of the small world. All the time and space silver pythons suddenly became much slower in their movement ability. Although the vision summoned by the Vientiane Avenue was not real, it had the effect of suppressing the opponent. Soon after the speed of the time and space silver python was suppressed, Pikachu turned into a bolt of lightning and penetrated its body. Hiss! This group of monsters let out a burst of painful screams. Pikachu used the power of thunder and lightning to immediately seal the space-time silver python's ability to move. Then, Shendraman immediately launched the 7th heaven. Boom! A burst of divine fire flames swept past. These monsters all died in the divine flames. You killed the reincarnation treasure chest and the time and space silver python, and obtained high-level reincarnation fragments x10. You killed the reincarnation treasure chest and the time and space silver python, and obtained high-level reincarnation fragments x10. You killed the reincarnation treasure chest and the time and space silver python, and obtained high-level reincarnation fragments x10. The synthesis root of the space-time silver python has been unlocked. The synthesis of this kind of monster actually requires 200 reincarnation fragments. My monster army already has the teleportation ability of the Void Beast, so adding a triple time rate is of little significance. Therefore, I'd better save some more fragments and upgrade the strength of all my monster legions to the level of reincarnation silhouettes as soon as possible. Lu Shu did some analysis and decided to save some materials and synthesize the Void Beast. After all, the Void Beast requires less synthetic materials. It is much more cost-effective than the Silver Snake Python. Next, Lu Shu walked to the treasure chest next to. Do you want to enable reincarnation and silver-level treasure chests? Yes. Congratulations on getting reincarnation boots, extraordinary level, X1. Lu Shu took a cursory glance at the attributes of the equipment. I have to say, now, his suit has begun to move closer to the extraordinary level. I only got one reincarnation set for the time being, and I don't know what the effect of the whole set is yet. It's just a silver level treasure chest, but it actually contains extraordinary level equipment. The levels of treasure chests are generally divided into bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and legend. The silver treasure chest in the Abyss of Reincarnation is only a low-level treasure chest, but it can already unlock extraordinary level equipment. If you get a more advanced treasure chest, maybe legendary equipment or even additional professions can be opened. Lu Shu vaguely felt that the power of reincarnation is very special. It seems to have a quite complete system. Is there a profession that controls reincarnation in the Sacred Tree game? Maybe. Inside this copy, after opening the most advanced treasure chest, there is a plan to get additional professions. For Lu Shu, all higher level professions can be transformed into Dao patterns after reaching a certain level. This is a good thing. With the help of Byakugan ability. After seeing through the changes in the maze here, it seemed much easier to continue moving forward. Before long, Lu Shu had already conquered several treasure chest rooms. You killed the Samsara treasure box and the purple flame dragon snake, and got X10 high-level Samsara fragments. You killed the Samsara treasure chest and the three-claw giant python, and obtained X10 advanced Samsara fragments. You killed the reincarnation treasure chest and night spider, and obtained high-level reincarnation fragments X10. Successively killed many monsters in the silver treasure chest room. At this time, Lu Shu has obtained the three-piece set of reincarnation. Among them, one of the treasure chests contains the same equipment. After the dungeon ends, you can sell it on the trading interface, or you can directly sacrifice it to the 5-color altar. The 5-color altar now always maintains the chance of 1 or 2 luck critical hits, but it has not been used yet. Subsequently, after Lu Shu replaced his boots, breastplate, and arm guards, he had obtained the attributes of the three-piece set of reincarnation.